What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Jellygoon TV. Welcome back to the Jellygoon Squad, and welcome back to the new viewers. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really do love it, man. I really do appreciate it. Today we have another video, part 2, but before we get to that, I want to say that there's a description down below. There is a Patreon over there where you could go support me, because I can't really get partnered on YouTube, because YouTube don't want my partnership. They don't want me to become a member of the family and get some money, but I really don't do it for the money. I do it for you beautiful people out there that send reactions, and I just enjoy that people actually give a fuck about me. That's it. But there's also music down below. You can go over and check. It's very beautiful. So yeah. But today we have a very special request. But it's a request from long ago. But I've seen that people, they ask for it. And yeah. So you're gonna get it. This is the Alexander the Great All Parts, part 2 for me, of course. I found where we left off last time, where Alexander the Great took over everything, and now he is about to go into Syria. He was against the Persian army. He took some hostage back in Rome, but you know, helped the kids, whatever. People, they got mad in the comments that I told that he was a great guy. Now you have to understand that, like another comment that I saw that was commenting on the comment that really dissed me. It was that, you know, it was a different time back then, and you couldn't really hold this peace, love, and harmony. If it wasn't for this scenario right here, it wasn't really be any peace in the world. There wasn't be anything like that, because there's a lot of war in the world. But what I want to say is, back then you couldn't just sit on your ass and say peace, love, and harmony. You have to take over some things. You have to be ruthless. You have to be dark. That's what I say. That's why I say he's a great guy, because he took over half of the world, and he's just, you know, he's a good emperor. He's everything, man. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into this, and please don't be butthurt if I say something. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's go.
But Alexander's stunning victories, all the oracles and acclamations, had now convinced him that his destiny was to rule the world. He rejected the Persian king's offer.
See?
He didn't want half the empire. He was coming to take it all.
Yeah, he wanted everything, of course, man. That's Alexander the Great. Of course, with his big-ass army. Imagine having all these soldiers in the field and you control them, man. It must be crazy.
21-year-old ruler of the small Greek kingdom of Macedonia, led an invasion of the vast Persian Empire. It seemed impossible.
He took almost everything. Crazy.
But thanks to Greek military dominance
and
Alexander's fearless leadership, he won 2 great battles against the Persians. At the river Granicus.
And that's why I say he's a great guy, man. He's a good guy. Because he's smart. That's why. It's not about being nice to people. It's not about that. But he was great in his time. You know, his time, not this time.
He now headed east into the empire's heartlands, seeking a final showdown with the Persian king, Darius III. Receiving
gonna be a showdown, man. Let's kill everybody. Come on.
Darius had assembled at Gaugamela, near modern Mosul in Iraq. He made straight for it.
Ooh.
This was Darius's last chance to stop Alexander, and Alexander's chance to smash Persian power once and for all.
The Battle of Gaugamela. It's gonna be an awesome battle, man. It's gonna be amazing.
To fight on open ground.
Look at that. I like the way that he used these missions, man. It's very nice.
Telling. His soldiers had also worked hard to clear and flatten the terrain to make it suitable for Persian war chariots. By modern estimates, the Persian army was between 50 and 80,000 strong, and made up of contingents from across the empire. Infantry from Syria and Babylonia.
It's a big-ass war.
Cavalry from Armenia, India, and Central Asia. Up to 200 scythed chariots. Even a handful of war elephants. Alexander's army was
elephants. You're gonna fight elephants. That's crazy, man.
By as much as 2 to 1. He deployed his units in their usual formation. On the left flank, Thracian and Thessalian cavalry, commanded by Parmenion. In the center, the Macedonian veterans of the phalanx, each armed with their 18-foot sarissa pike.
The big guys.
On the right flank, Alexander, with his elite cavalry, the companions, and his best infantry, the hypaspists.
It's crazy, man.
These
Let's see how this goes, man. I think Alexander the Great is going to be defeated. I don't know.
Greek hoplites formed a second line and supported both wings, which were angled back to guard against encirclement by the Persians. The battle began when Alexander led his wing out to the right, a move that took the Persians by surprise. Could Alexander really be trying to encircle their huge army?
Well, he can, because he's crazy, man. This guy is definitely crazy, man. He's gonna do whatever he want to do.
To outflank Alexander.
Exactly.
Leaving the area.
That's what he's trying to do. He's not trying to be a big war. He's trying to send them out.
But Alexander's unusual maneuver was a trap to entice the Persians to weaken their center. When he saw that it had worked,
exactly.
He ordered his Greek cavalry to charge, to keep the Persians fixed in position. A giant cavalry battle developed on the right wing.
That's crazy,
Darius,
man.
Meanwhile,
I like the way that he uses total Rome to
unleashed his chariots. But expert Agrianus javelin throwers took out horses and crews. While the Greek infantry opened lanes, allowing the chariots to pass harmlessly through.
That's crazy, man.
Now Alexander
doesn't
led
give a
his
damn.
companion cavalry and parts of the Macedonian phalanx in a headlong charge straight at the weakened Persian center, fighting his way towards Darius himself. The sudden ferocity of Alexander's assault threw the Persians into panic. The center of the army broke and ran.
Yeah, of course.
King Darius himself leading the rout.
That's crazy.
But Alexander's
now he treats, man. He doesn't really stand up for each country. He doesn't really die like a man.
Parmenion, facing a huge onslaught by Persian cavalry, was virtually surrounded. Indian and Scythian horsemen had even ridden through a gap in the Greek line. But rather than wheeling and attacking the Greeks from behind, they'd carried straight on to loot their camp. Parmenion sent a desperate appeal to Alexander for help. The king abandoned his pursuit of Darius, regrouped, and charged the Persian right wing. It was the hardest and bloodiest
guy leave nobody behind, man.
Claiming the lives of 60 of Alexander's companions.
Wow.
Finally, as news of Darius's flight spread across the battlefield, the last Persian horseman turned and fled.
Of course, man. They can't fight without no leader. There ain't no leader. Actually, there ain't no moral in the army, man. It's crazy to see, but it is.
Victory for Alexander. According to ancient sources, he lost just a few hundred men, while the Persians lost thousands.
That can also be propaganda. Yeah, that can also be propaganda, but yeah.
Alexander had routed Darius's great army. And now the road to Babylon, the empire's main capital, lay open.
On some Jesus shit, let's go!
The Macedonian king entered the great city in triumph, recognized by Persian officials as its new rightful ruler. So too at the city of Susa, where Alexander ceremonially took his seat upon the royal throne of
This
Persia.
guy took over everything, man. That's fucked. Alexander was... This is what I'm talking about. He was a great guy. He was a great military guy, man. Jesus.
Courageous
he was smart.
Persian force held up Alexander's army for a month. The Greeks eventually found a mountain path that bypassed their position, allowing them to encircle and wipe out the defenders. In early 330 BC, Alexander reached Persepolis, the empire's ceremonial capital. Alexander wanted to appear as a liberator to the Persians, as a legitimate successor to King Darius. But now he ordered Persepolis to be pillaged and burnt. Retribution for the Persian invasion of Greece and the burning of Athens' sacred temples in 480 BC.
See, that's not a good idea, but I'm telling you, man, this guy's smart military-wise.
Into Media,
I don't say he's the best guy in the
where
world.
Darius had taken refuge in the royal city of Ecbatana. Alexander was determined to capture Darius, but the fugitive king fled east in the hope of raising a new army in the provinces of Parthia, Bactria, and Sogdia. It was not to be. As Alexander closed in, the Persian king was murdered by one of his own governors, Bessus, who then proclaimed himself the empire's new ruler. Alexander gave orders for Darius to be buried in the royal tombs of Persepolis, alongside his ancestors.
Ooh.
Then he paused to organize his vast new empire. Alexander appointed viceroys to rule the provinces on his behalf, keeping several Persians who had sworn loyalty in their posts. Then he resumed his march east, his goal to find and kill the usurper.
That's a big
Bessus,
country to keep in check.
subjugate the empire's eastern provinces, and reach the far edge of the world.
That's crazy.
In 330 BC,
amazing, man. Wow.
Alexander continued his march east. His goal, to find and kill Bessus,
he took over half the world almost. He was over there, yeah.
King, and to subjugate the empire's eastern provinces. Alexander headed first for Aria, today part of Afghanistan, where the Persian governor Satibarzanes had launched a revolt after initially pretending to submit to Alexander. The rebellion was crushed,
and
Satibarzanes killed in single combat by a Greek cavalry officer. Nearby, Alexander founded the city of Alexandria Ariana, modern Herat, one of around a dozen cities that Alexander would eventually found, almost all bearing his name.
Wow.
Alexander marched on to Frada. The Macedonian court had a long tradition of plots and assassination. 6 years before, Alexander's own father, King Philip, had been murdered by his bodyguard. He was now informed that Philotas, commander of his companion cavalry, had uncovered a plot to assassinate Alexander, but kept it secret.
What? You see this backstabbing ass?
Parmenion,
Unbelievable,
were among the
man.
most
People backstabbing all the power.
Commanders, and had played crucial roles in all his great victories. But when Philotas confessed under torture, Alexander had him executed, then sent assassins back to Ecbatana, where Parmenion was governor, to kill him before he even heard of his son's death, and had a chance to turn against Alexander. In 329, Alexander resumed his pursuit.
I mean, this guy's brutal, man, but strategically wise,
he founded the city of Alexandria,
smart when you play chess, man. Just have to
modern
say.
Kandahar in southern Afghanistan.
Everything is Alexandria over here, man.
As he reached Kunduz, Bessus was betrayed by his own men and handed over in chains. Alexander sent him back to Persia for execution as a kingslayer. Alexander pushed on into modern Tajikistan, where the Sogdians rose up against him. He had to fight off attacks by local tribes and take several towns by assault. On the banks of the Jaxartes River, he founded the city of Alexandria Escate, meaning Alexandria the furthest, so named because he had, at last, reached the limit of the Persian Empire.
Took in the whole thing, man. This guy, man. He made a big clusterfuck out of nothing. That's crazy,
this
man.
This frontier was
this guy's
frequently
awesome,
raided
man,
by nomads, known to the Greeks.
I'm sorry if you get pissed, but he is awesome. He's a wise guy.
Alexander lured them into a decisive battle near the Jaxartes.
Then he cut their fucking head off. No?
The result was a crushing victory for the
I like the visuals in the game, I have to say, man, it's just beautiful.
But fighting against Bactrian and Sogdian tribes continued, frustrating Alexander and tying him down in a difficult guerrilla war.
Of course, man. Tyrants.
By now, many of the Macedonian troops were unhappy with Alexander. Most had not seen their homes in years, but their king seemed bent on conquest without end. What was worse, he'd begun to adopt the rituals and dress of their defeated Persian enemy, customs they viewed as effeminate and decadent.
You gotta watch out, man. You gotta keep them all up and have people happy.
Modern Samarkand,
can't have that big of an
after
empire
a furious,
without that, man.
drunken argument, Alexander killed Clytus the Black. Clytus had been one of Alexander's best generals, and the man who'd saved his life at the Battle of the Granicus. Alexander was full of remorse, but his growing arrogance was alienating more and more old comrades. When he tried to make his countrymen perform the traditional Persian ritual of proskynesis, prostrating themselves before the king, he crossed a line. To Greeks, this was blasphemy. Only a god was worthy of such respect, and Alexander was forced to back down. In Bactria, another plot to
you gotta know your
assassinate
limits, man. You gotta know your limits, Alexander.
This time the ringleader was a royal page.
Of course they want us.
One of the sons of Macedonian nobility who attended the king. Hermolaus had become murderously bitter towards Alexander over a perceived injustice. He and his accomplices were tortured and then stoned to death. Callisthenes, Alexander's official historian, was also implicated in the conspiracy. He was thrown in prison, where he later died.
This guy's going mad now, man, because he's so big, he's so arrogant. He thinks he can do everything, man.
Alexander became captivated by the beauty of Roxana, daughter of a Bactrian lord. Their marriage was also a sound political move, helping to end local revolt against his rule, and allowing him to continue his advance into modern Pakistan and India.
Why would you kill your good commander, man? The edge of the world, of course. He went to the edge of the world, but his mind also went to the edge of the world. He did some stupid stuff.
The Persian Empire's most eastern provinces, which had yet to recognize his kingship. To do so, he would first have to cross the Hindu Kush mountains and reach the Indus River Valley.
Sounds familiar?
Advancing in 2 columns, his army won a series of skirmishes against the Aspasi and Asakani as they fought their way into what's now the Swat Valley of northern Pakistan. After a fierce siege, Alexander took the Asakanian capital of Masaga. According to legend, it was ruled by a beautiful queen, Cleophas, who bore Alexander a son and was allowed to keep her throne. The ruler of Taxila, near modern Islamabad, had formed an alliance with Alexander. Together, they marched to face Porus, king of Paravas, at the Battle of the Hydaspes.
This guy is like,
It was
he
Alexander's
did it.
costliest
You know what I mean?
battle,
Like, he did it.
as Porus's war elephants inflicted terrible casualties amongst the Greeks.
Yeah, of course, man.
But despite
Can't fuck with
Porus's
elephants.
fearless leadership, the battle ended in a decisive victory for Alexander, winning him control of the Punjab.
I mean, he's lucky so far, I have to say,
Alexander
man.
wanted to
Multiple
push on
assassinations
to India,
attempt.
to
People
reach
would
the great
fuck
river,
him up. Like, he
which
just, you
ancient
know.
Greek geographers said
Seems like
formed
pussy
the
save
edge
him all
of
the time, you
world.
know what I mean?
But at the river Hyphasis, known today as the Bias, his army mutinied.
The BS. Oh.
His men had
They
marched
what?
thousands of miles, fought countless battles, and not seen their homes in 8 years. They'd heard rumors of
Yeah, they kinda
gigantic
fucks with
armies
your moral, man.
waiting for them in India. They refused to go any further.
No, because the far you are from
Alexander
home, you
was
get scared
furious,
in your mind. You know what I mean?
but
Like,
had
you're
to
gonna
turn
get
the
scared,
army
man.
around.
Because you're like, this is not my
He
turf.
followed the rivers of the Punjab to the sea, a journey that took 10 months. On the way, he defeated the Malians, but while leading the assault on their capital, was wounded in the chest and nearly killed.
Yeah. Woof. Life is coming for you, man.
On reaching the coast, part of the army under Nearchus boarded ships and returned to Persia by sea, sailing through the Straits of Hormuz and entering the Persian Gulf. It was one of the great ancient voyages of exploration, as these waters had been previously unknown to Greeks. Meanwhile, Alexander led the rest of the army back by land through the Gedrosian Desert, today in southern Pakistan. But extreme heat and shortages of food and water led to terrible suffering and many deaths among his army. On his return to Persia, Alexander executed several of his viceroys and governors, men accused of ruling unjustly and robbing temples and tombs during his long absence in the east. At Susa, he arranged a magnificent mass marriage of Macedonian officers to 80 Persian noblewomen to strengthen bonds between his two kingdoms. Alexander himself married 2 Persian princesses. He also paid all his soldiers' debts
This
and
guy was a
ordered
player, man.
30,000 youths from across the empire to be trained in the Macedonian art of war. But at Opis, his Macedonian troops
I mean, you can't be mad at your boss pays everybody.
They were offended by Alexander's apparent preference for Persian advisors and Persian ways. Alexander had the ringleaders executed and made a speech to the men reminding them of the glories they'd won together, and leading eventually to an emotional reconciliation.
I mean, the guy's not
Gaugamela,
stupid. Let's just get that out of
Alexander's
quick.
closest
The
and
guy,
most
Alexander,
trusted
is not
friend,
stupid.
Hephaestion, died of fever. The king was grief-stricken, went days without eating, and ordered a period of public mourning across the empire. Alexander waged a successful campaign against the mountain raiders of Kossia, who not even the Persian kings had been able to subdue. Returning to Babylon, he was met by embassies from distant peoples, come to recognize his greatness. Ethiopians, Libyans, European Scythians, Lucanians, Etruscans, Gauls,
That's crazy, man.
and Iberians. Alexander's Bactrian wife, Roxana, was now pregnant. But as he planned his next campaign to Arabia and beyond, he developed a sudden fever and died days later
Yeah, of course, karma.
aged just 32. The cause of Alexander's death
32 years old and you conquered half of the world. Are you fucking kidding me?
Cholera,
God damn.
typhus, or poison.
But he didn't die like a snake's death, you know? He died a man death, the successor. Yeah, the successor, sorry.
Alexander died undefeated in battle. His reputation as a brilliant, fearless and daring military commander remains undimmed. His decade-long campaign created one of the largest empires ever known, stretching from Greece to Pakistan. But it was vast and unstable,
That's a long
held
way,
together
man.
only by his own brilliance and name. Alexander left no plans for his succession, and his generals soon began fighting among themselves to carve out their own empires.
Of course.
In the Wars of the Successors, Alexander's widow Roxana and his young son were murdered. His own gold sarcophagus, en route to Macedonia for burial, was hijacked and ended up in Alexandria in Egypt. Today, its location remains one of the world's great unsolved mysteries. Few men have ever had such an impact on the course of history as Alexander the Great. The breathtaking achievements of his short life ushered in the Hellenistic Age, as Greek ideas spread across the territory of his former empire, fusing with local traditions.
Yeah, he was
developments in art,
smart
science,
guy.
government and language.
Yeah. Greek is actually a very good country,
Some
man.
of
It helps a lot
the
the
successor
world.
kingdoms
Like,
to his
really
great
did.
empire
Has those
were
hardcore
short-lived.
things.
Others endured for centuries. But all, in turn, would fall to new forces. And in the
Yeah,
West,
of course.
to the
The
rising
world moves
power
on, man. It is what it is.
of Rome. Research and artwork for this video comes from Osprey Publishing's
Man,
extensive
let me pause
range.
here, man. That's crazy, man. Go over and support Epic History. He's a good channel, man. It's a good channel over there. Man, that was crazy, man. I'm sorry it took so long for me to react to this video. I'm really sorry, but that was epic, man. Really epic. Now, Alexander, he died a good death. Like, he died not a coward's death. He didn't die anything. He didn't even get defeated in battle. Now, that's a great guy. That's a smart guy. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's the best guy in the world. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he's smart military-wise, playing chess-wise, all these things, man. He really does these strategies right, man. And I think it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a very rare thing nowadays that people, they act smart. But I really hope there comes nothing like this because, you know, people, they need to live their life. They need to be in their countries, whatever, man. But it's a beautiful video. I really do like it, man. I really do like it. Now we watch all the parts of Alexander the Great, and I must say, man, he's one of my favorites, man. He's definitely one of my favorites, historian, battle kings, you know, because he really did the thing. He didn't really give a fuck. Like, he didn't really care. But I'm not saying he's a good guy, like, morally, and he's a nice guy or whatever. I'm just saying he's a smart guy, military-wise. You know what I mean? Like, he's very smart because else he wouldn't take over half of the fucking world, man. That's crazy. Man, amazing, man. Like Russia. Russia took over a lot of things, man. That's crazy. But yeah, that was a beautiful video. Again, thank you so much for that old comment request, but I really do appreciate it. I seen you guys in the comments that request this one, the part 2 of it, of course, and here you got it, man. I love you so much, and thank you so much for keeping my channel unlocked and commenting down below. I really do appreciate every single one of you, and I love you, man. Mwah. I love you so much. But anyway, guys and girls, if you like this video, please hit the like button down below. It would be massively appreciated if you show support, of course. And if you really want to show support to this beautiful channel, please do subscribe and hit that notification button so you get updated on the newest videos and you become a member of the Jelly Goon Squad. But anyway, guys and girls, I'm going to move on into the next one. Love you. Peace.